Hello, hello, hello. Hello, 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 shiny happy people. Hello, Mark. Hello, Tamahome. Jazz hands.
We really do this show for Tamahome. I mean, it's nice that Mark and Jan and everybody show up. Believe me, we appreciate it. But
if anything, if Tamahome ever goes away, I'm going to be really sad.
And when I don't mean Sword and Laser
if any of our regulars
entirely.
go away.
I mean, like the video. It feels like oh, we have to do the video, or we'll let Tamahome down.
Yeah, it's kind of a lot of pressure. Wah, wah, you wah. All right. So what do we got here tonight? We're just going through the show notes real fast to make sure things are good. I'm so sad and disappointed in myself that I didn't realize that Rika Aoki had replied back to us last week. Because I didn't check the Twitter.
Oh,
anyway,
I didn't check the Sword and Laser Twitter.
Yeah.
What did she say?
That she was like honored to be discussed and stuff like that. It was really nice. I know.
Where is that? I missed that. I posted a reply tweet in German, but my German is so rusty and bad I deleted it. Anyway, thank you so much for the mention, Sword and Laser. Hi, and super congratulations, Scalzi.
Super cute, right?
Yeah, that's great.
We don't talk about Bruno, no.
Oh, there was an unfortunate line break in my promotion of last episode.
Was there? Why? What'd you do?
We're back on Sword and Laser with further thoughts on Light from Uncommon Stars plus PK, line break, Dick Noms, and more.
Nice one.
Supposed to be Philip K. Dick.
Nice one.
All in a row.
Nice one. I'm going to try to get my mic closer to me without having to bend over the...
Oh, yeah, that sounds better.
That sounds better? Okay.
Yeah.
It's like right under me now. Okay, cool. Okay. How do I... Okay. Cool.
Did you drink anything earlier that we should put in?
I did. Well, it's the same as last time. It's the... It's this one. Fort Point Mosaic.
Sufizio?
No, this is not the Sufizio. It's Mosaic Park.
Apothic Red?
No.
Those are the last ones.
Oh. I don't know.
What is it?
It's Fort Point.
Yeah.
Mosaic Park.
I don't think that's what you put in the doc last time.
I don't think... Well, I guess I thought I had.
You may have been drinking it, don't get me wrong, but it's not what was in the doc.
My bad.
Fort Point beer. Mm-hmm. A beer of San Francisco. Drinking the local beer, are you?
I bought a bunch of stuff from Athleta because they had this deal where you could like trade in. Have you heard of the website ThreadUp?
Yeah.
It's like I bet Eileen's probably used it. They don't have men's stuff, unfortunately. Nope, but you've heard of it. Cool.
Nope, I introduced her to it.
Oh.
Don't gender box me, Belmont. No, I actually heard of it through Sarah Lane. Honestly.
Oh, cool. Okay. So I use that a lot.
She did a podcast that involved them.
Oh, neat. Yeah, so I used them a lot. And so but Athleta was doing a promotion with them where you could send in your bag and you didn't have to wait for everything to get purchased to get money. It automatically gave you the money for all the stuff that they thought it was worth it.
Yeah.
But you could only use it for athletic credit. I got $300 in athletic credit from clothes that I sold. That is like 7 million times more than I've ever gotten through ThreadUp.
$300, that'll buy you a sock.
Yeah, so I bought some new stuff, and Ryan was like, "Oh," he was like, "Oh yeah, doing some shopping." I was like, "Hey, buying local," because they're owned by Gap. He's like, that's not what that means.
That's why I wear Levi's too, because they're local.
That was another joke I made. Yeah, I was like, as long as I just wear Gap and Levi's, I'm buying local.
Yeah, totally.
So bad. But
yeah, that's why I only wear LA Fitness. I don't know who's located here.
Well, like American Apparel. They're
Do
an
they
LA
exist?
brand.
I thought I almost said that, and I'm like, I think
anymore.
they may have gone
I don't
bankrupt.
think they exist anymore. So. Yeah, good call. Okay, let's do a podcast.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
I feel great.
Pretty good? Okay.
Very good.
All right, let's do a clap just for funsies. And 3, 2, 1. Okay, clap, clap. Tamahome and Mark clapped. Great. Okay, and 3, 2. Hey everyone, welcome to The Sword and Laser. I'm Veronica Belmont.
And I'm Tom Merritt.
Sword and Laser is a book club, but it's so much more. We bring you author interviews, news from the world of science fiction and fantasy, and of course, awesome discussions from fans just like you. Oh, hey.
Little gnat sound. Little gnat sound.
Very nice. What are you drinking? Guess we're jumping into that segment right off the top here.
I inhaled it instead of drinking it.
Classy.
No, I thought I would have my... What are we drinking? It sounds like I'm drinking like a shot of whiskey, but it's just a beer. It's Terra beer. It's a Korean beer that is Australian. So it's trying to be an Australian style beer, but it's made in Korea.
So it's not an Australian beer that's trying to be a Korean style beer.
It's an Australian genuine malt selected by Terra.
Oh. And
it's premium quality. Anyway, it's a very light and delicious beer, and I quite enjoy it.
Nice. I was drinking.
I'm not choking on it.
Yeah, going down the wrong pipes. I am drinking a Fort Point as usual. Mosaic Park. Yeah, gotta drink local. Single hop pale ale series.
Just the one hop, huh?
Just the single one. Yeah, that's all. It's cheap though, which is nice. They just use one hop.
Yeah, right. Just steep that one hop. Mm-hmm. Is that how they make beer? They steep a hop.
It's like tea. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Have you watched Pake's Spirit on Netflix?
No, I haven't even heard of it.
It's a chef, Korean chef named Pake. Hence me drinking the Korean beer, because we watched Pake's and then went to H Mart and bought some Korean beers and sojus and stuff. It's really good. He sits in restaurants and talks about food with people, and he will then go into like the history of like, here's how soju is made, or here's how beer was brewed historically in Korea and stuff. It's really cool. That's
cool. Yeah, I like stuff like that. I like food shows or culture experience kind of shows. That sounds neat. I'm not really. I'm watching Peacemaker.
Oh, it's so good.
I
love Peacemaker. So good. So funny.
It's so ridiculous.
It's ridiculously funny. I was talking to Len Peralta.
Cracks me up.
I was talking to Len Peralta. He's like, yeah, sometimes they do too many side jags. I'm like, oh, not for me. The side jags are the best part. Like
the chode line. The last episode. Ryan
or the no spoilers. I promise this is like not a spoiler, but when he has to name the other people they could have framed, and he just goes off on a long
yes.
and just won't stop, and it's like, wow, he doesn't. Yeah.
Or when he was making fun of Batman.
Anyway, if you haven't seen Peacemaker, this is one of those situations where you're like, well, I don't get why it's so funny, but if you have, I think you get it.
John Cena is one of the better physical comedians of our time.
Gosh, yeah.
I would say
genius, and
he's
improv.
Very funny.
You can tell he's improving a lot of that stuff.
Yeah,
which Justin Robert Young, who follows wrestling closely, says y'all are just non-wrestling fans are just getting to appreciate the brilliance of John Cena. Not in a gatekeeping way, but in a like, oh yeah, no, he hasn't really been allowed to do this in his other roles in films and stuff until now, and this is like kind of what he's best at.
No, but he was in that rom-com that was really funny. I watched it a few nights ago. It's about a couple go on vacation in like Cancun, and they meet up with John Cena and his wife, and they decide they're going to be best friends, and they totally like ruin the other couple's life because they're such a like mess. John Cena and his wife are a mess. Tom Mahome says that John Cena speaks fluent Mandarin.
He does. He's a huge. I just learned this moments ago. Tom Mahome, stop spying on my conversations with Eileen. She was just telling me he speaks fluent Mandarin, and he's a big BTS fan.
And also, the movie was Vacation Friends. Thank you, Tom Mahome.
Yeah.
All right, this is not a John Cena appreciation podcast, though. It very well could be.
Yeah.
Not yet.
You can always pivot. But
all these shows have like podcasts now. I'm like, how come no one ever asks us to do their TV show podcast?
Seriously.
Like, who are these people doing these TV show podcasts? They're not us. We could totally be doing that.
They have no experience. I assume.
Yeah.
I don't know who they are.
On literally anyone can do a podcast is the sad thing.
But not literally anyone can claim they have been doing a podcast for 16 years.
Has it been 16?
Well, this one hasn't been on for 16, but you and I have been podcasting together for 16 years. Yeah,
that's true. Okay. All right. Well, speaking of our podcast, let's jump into the quick burns.
Terp Kristen just got an email when Terp Kristen wrote this post from Chicago Worldcon that Hugo nominations are open now. And then Terp Kristen wrote, maybe nominate your favorite swordy and lasery podcast, to which Mark added, in 2021, Sword and Laser had 24 nominations for Best Fan Cast. Of the 6 podcasts that made the 2021 Hugo ballot, 28 nominations was enough to make the cut. And 3 of the podcasts were within 10 nominations of Sword and Laser. So it would just take literally 4 more people and maybe a reminder to Veronica and Tom to nominate themselves. Then it would only take 2 more people.
We didn't nominate ourselves.
Sword and Laser might have got nominated. But I feel bad. I feel bad. It's like, voting for yourself. Obviously, no one ever knows, but I'm from that generation where it's like, wow, you don't vote for yourself.
I know. I feel the same way. I feel very weird about it, but I think I need to have a little less pride. Other people probably voted for themselves.
I shouldn't even say this because this is against the rule. I won't say it because it's against the rules, but I was going to make a vote trading joke. Don't vote trade. Don't trade your votes.
I
don't do that.
Kind of know what that means. I can
That's like
infer
you make
what that
a
means.
deal where I'll vote for your thing if you vote for my thing. Yeah.
Okay. I'm like, yeah. So anyway, you, our listeners, should vote for us.
You should vote for who you think is best.
Vote for who you think is best, which is us. It's us. There's lots of great podcasts out there. All right. Trike says, Amazon just announced the title of their Lord of the Rings prequel series. It's called The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. It premieres on Amazon Prime on September 2nd, and I'm assuming that's September 2nd of this year.
Of this year, yes, correct.
2022.
The year of our Lord, 2022.
That's right. Very cool.
I assume, first of all, that an editor probably sent this back at Amazon saying you've got rings too close to each other in the title, and then they got overruled. That was my first thought. It was like, man, I know a lot of editors that wouldn't like that. The second thing I thought was, oh, this is good. This is going to be about, because the teaser where they announce it is just the quote about, the 9 rings were made for the world of men, and some for the elves, and some for the dwarves, and one for that bad guy Sauron, except, it's properly quoted. And I'm like, oh, I want to know that. We only know the history, and we only know the end history of the One Ring. Yeah. Give me the other rings. Why were they made? Who are they made for? Who are those people?
Yeah. So much to know. I mean, is that probably all in the Silmarillion? I just assume it's all in the Silmarillion.
It kind of is, but it's also in the appendix, and that is one key to this, is Amazon didn't license the Silmarillion. Amazon licensed the appendix to The Lord of the Rings because the estate wanted to do a whole new negotiation for the Silmarillion, but Amazon could license the appendix through Warner, who already had the rights to them.
Did you cover this on your other show?
On Cord Killers, yeah. We covered this on Cord Killers, yeah.
Okay, I'm like, you know a lot about this.
I just am a wizard.
Makes sense.
And I know precisely what I mean to.
All right, you're up.
Yes. Jan. Good morning, Jan. Good to have you in the audience. Jan writes 3 rings for the Elven Kings under the sky in our chat. That is a proper quote. And also wrote on Goodreads, Deadline reports that Parasite director Bong Joon-ho is in talks to write and direct an untitled film based on Edward Ashton's upcoming novel Mickey 7 for Warner Brothers, and that the Batman star Robert Pattinson, thank you for calling him the Batman star Robert Pattinson, that's brilliant, is in talks to star in. The novel is about Mickey 7, an expendable, a disposable human clone sent on a mission to colonize another world. Whenever a clone dies, a new body is regenerated with most of his memories intact. When Mickey 7 is presumed dead on a mission, Mickey 8 is activated, but Mickey 7 is not dead. And because duplicates are illegal, Mickey 7 has to hide his duplicate status from the rest of the colony.
That sounds super cool.
Sounds like Robert Pattinson might get to play more than one role.
Yeah, the Pat Man. Gotta love it.
I like to think of him as the Lighthouse's Robert Pattinson.
I don't know that one.
Oh, you haven't seen that? That's a weird movie. Yeah,
it's weird. Is it scary?
It's good. It's very good, but it's weird.
Is it scary?
No.
No?
I mean, not the kind of scary that bothers you.
Is it? So it's not spoopy?
It's got a little spoopy to it, but that's not really the point.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. I'll watch more Patman movies. He's pretty great in his, this next stage in his career. Jan also says the adaptation of Tomi Adeyemi's Children of Blood and Bone has moved from Lucasfilm to Paramount. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Lucasfilm let the project languish soon after it was announced and concentrated mostly on its original properties, like the many new Star Wars series, Indiana Jones, and Willow. There's a new Willow coming? Deadline reports rights reverted back to Adeyemi in fall 2021, and after a bidding war, Paramount acquired the project early in 2022, now with Adeyemi attached to adapt her own work and also executive produce, giving her creative approval, something that was, according to The Hollywood Reporter, apparently not the case at Lucasfilm. The move also means that Rick Famuyiwa, one of the directors of The Mandalorian, is no longer attached to direct the film.
Yeah,
so
this probably
changes.
Sounds worse than it is to some people. Hollywood Reporter taking a jab at Lucasfilm for letting the project languish while they focused on, properties that make them crap loads of money. Feels like a little bit of a backhand. That happens a lot. Studios license stuff and then make decisions based on the bottom line all the time. It's not like Lucasfilm is alone in that. And books get optioned all the time and then don't end up getting turned into properties and then let go, and other people grab them. So I don't blame Lucasfilm for that. But good for Paramount snapping it up. Maybe they can get Famuyiwa on board. The only reason he's no longer attached to direct is because it changed hands. But they also, I don't know, Adeyemi, now that they're involved, that's the other part of this is when Lucasfilm got the rights, it was kind of unusual to have authors on board. But in the intervening years, it has become much more commonplace to have authors involved in the productions. So that's just kind of a change in the culture of Hollywood, I think.
Totally. Yeah, I would. I'm actually stoked. I think that's kind of exciting that they get to have some input on, much more input on the project, and some creative control, which is great.
Yeah, I think authors are just more savvy than they used to be. It used to be you'd bring an author in, I'm talking about in the 60s, right? And they'd be like, all I know is novels. You should do this. And the movie people would be like, no, that doesn't work. But we're all so much more cross-platform literate than we used to be. I think it's not as big of a deal.
Yeah, I need to read this book. I've heard so many good things.
Yeah, me too. So now it would be your turn.
No, I just read this one. I just read that one.
Did you?
I did, because I had a hard time with the names, remember? Just take another drink. It's okay.
Okay. But I have to read the one after this. I guess that's why I was trying to give it to you.
Oh, why? Is the next one, the one after that,
Remember
hard?
I said I would read this because it's a monster? And I could summarize it?
Oh, all right. I'll read this next one, then you can take that one. Okay.
I know that's unusual. I know that's out of order.
All right. I'm not sure how to say this this Discord friend's user handle. Gerpectus.
You know what? Call them Christos, because they also posted on Goodread under the name Christos, and that's easier to pronounce.
Fantastic. All right. Stephen King announces a new book called Fairy Tale about a kid from the real world going to a fantasy world. I'm calling it now. The kid is going to be evil. I'm calling it now. It sounds like it's in the world of Nosferatu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right? Did you get your son involved?
Another piece of that, yeah.
A little Joe Hill collab going on under the table?
Oh, right, you're right. Well, because, oh my gosh, I totally forgot that Nosferatu wasn't a Stephen King book for a second.
Right.
That's what happened just now.
Stephen King-like. And Joe Hill admits that. He's like, oh yeah,
that's
this
embarrassing.
is the one that's like my dad.
I apologize, but it's kind of true. But Joe Hill made Stephen King references in Nosferatu, so maybe we'll see a little bit of additional crossover. Who knows?
All right, so we have lots of great posts that I'm going to try to summarize here because the American Library Association had their awards ceremony. And Genesee pointed out that Light from Uncommon Stars won an Alex Award, which is given to the 10 best adult books that appeal to teens. So kind of, crossover. Elatsoe made the honor list for the American Indian Youth Literature Award, a young adult category, and the honor list for the Stonewall Barbara Giddings Award. So it got a couple of them. Sorrowland by Rivers Solomon won the Stonewall Barbara Giddings Literature Award and made the Over the Rainbow book list top 10. A Psalm for the Wild Built made the honor list for the Stonewall Barbara Giddings Literature Award. And then Jan pointed out that The Thousand Crimes of Ming Tu by Tom Lin was the winner of the 2022 Andrew Carnegie Medal for Excellence in Fiction for the best work for adult readers published in the U.S. in the previous year. Lots of other genre award winners. The Last Cuentista by Donna Barba Higuera as the John Newbery Medal winner for the most outstanding contribution to children's lit. And the Core Committee recognizing excellence in children's and young adult science fiction, a division of ALA, announced the 2022 Notables list, including YA and middle grade works from Etherbound by E.K. Johnston to Weird King by Greg Van Eekhout. And Rusa posted the 2022 reading list from the ALA, the year's best in genre fiction for adult winners, or for adult readers. Fantasy winner, A Master of Jinn, and making the short list was Blackwater Sister, The Black-Tongued Thief, When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain, from the same author we're going to be reading in February, The Witch's Heart, and science fiction winner was A Psalm for the Wild Built, so that one cleaned up. Short list was Day Zero, Project Hail Mary, One Day All This Will Be Yours, and Unity. So lots of good book recommendations coming from the ALA, as one would expect the ALA to do.
A Psalm for the Wild Built, that's Becky Chambers? It feels like a Becky Chambers title, or is that a different book? Because the author wasn't labeled on either of those posts. So now I'm going to do a quick Googles.
Yes, that is Becky Chambers, and I knew that, okay. But I didn't want to say it was, and then find out I was mistaken and that I was remembering it wrong. So yes, that is Becky Chambers. Very cool,
very cool. Oh, Mark says A Master of Jinn. Put that on the Sword and Laser short list.
Okay.
Good to know. Very cool. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for submitting quick burns. As usual, you can do that over on Goodreads or in our Discord channel, which you can find over at our website. All right. Now it is time for Bare Your Sword, which is our feedback from the audience. Would you like to read the Beth Mitchum of the week?
Thank you. I would love to read the Beth Mitchum of the week. Beth Mitchum, if you're new to the show, is able to summarize the books we read and sometimes other books in the character limit of Twitter. Now, granted, that character limit has gone up in Beth Mitchum's career from 140 to 280, but it's still darn impressive. Here is Beth Mitchum from January 21st. Light from Uncommon Stars, Rika Aoki. This book is a call to action. I want to eat great food, listen to great music, but also practice compassion and forgive mistakes. Finding true love might be in there somewhere as well.
Aww, that's nice. Thank you, Beth, as always, for an excellent short-form book review. They're some of my favorites.
Quite often, Beth Mitchum puts my thoughts to words, to very brief, concise, effective words, and this is definitely one of those cases.
Fantastic. I feel like someday Beth should put out a book of her own that is just all of her book reviews from Twitter.
And then review it.
Oh, no, then we could review it.
Yeah, I'd mess it up. Maybe
you'd mess it up?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like some of our other listeners are pretty good at that, too.
I'd go like 282 characters and just...
Yeah. Well, you've never actually counted the characters. We don't know that.
Well, 280 is the Twitter limit. That's why I'm like,
yes.
I just wouldn't be able to fit it in.
And then in funny, cute things. So last week we always post on Twitter when we have a new episode up. So for the tweet that we had 2 weeks ago for Ein kleiner Nachtmarket, somewhere Jan is shaking his head, very disappointed at my pronunciation. I said, we're excited about a new Scalzi TV show, a possible new Scalzi TV show. And Scalzi said, not going to lie, I'm excited too. So that was very nice.
I bet you are, John Scalzi. And that's very good to hear. It would be worrisome if you wrote, me, not so excited.
Yeah, just an everyday thing for me, John Scalzi.
Yeah. No, that's good. And then we also got Rika Aoki replying, I posted a reply tweet in German, but my German is so rusty and bad I deleted it. Oh, listen, our German is worse. So
did you just hear what I just
bad.
butchered? So let's yeah.
Anyway,
no
she continued, thank you so much for the mention, Sword and Laser, and hi and super congratulations, Scalzi, because it was in the same thread that Scalzi was replying to.
Well, maybe she'll have a TV show at some point, too, based on one of her novels.
If there's any
That'd be
justice
amazing.
in the world, yes.
Indeed, indeed.
I would love to see that adapted.
I am super ready for more awesome, especially now that The Expanse is over, or at least the main part, that story is over. Did you know what else is going on with
No. The Expanse, I sort of try to keep tabs, and I try not to, overstep our bounds as we, James S.A. Corey, our friend of the show, our friends of the show. But from what I can tell, it seems like they definitely have a plan for how to carry on the stories. It might be movies instead of TV series, although that they haven't confirmed that. That's just me gleaning things.
Yeah.
And they, whatever it is, they haven't got it nailed down, so they can't say. So they've been very non-committal of like, oh man, yes, we are, would love to continue to do the show. Almost wink, wink, like,
right.
It's just around the corner. But I don't think they can say anything because I don't think they have anything to say.
Oh, that last season was like one of the best seasons too. It was really
so
incredible.
Good. Oh,
what a way to end it.
Yeah, if any of you have not caught up on The Expanse, now's the time. Just do the whole thing. It's amazing.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that is about it for Barrier Sword, rather. So we can jump into the Book of the Month discussion. And so what we are going to do is just do a brief kickoff of the February book pick. Oh, no.
The February book pick will be The Empress of Salt and Fortune by Nhi Vo.
Thank you.
That is is it the first time we've ever done a novella?
Yes.
So it's going to be a quick read, folks. I think it's
only 2 hours on audiobook or 3 hours on audiobook.
Yeah, it's less than 3 hours on the audiobook version. Mm-hmm. It's a short read, but it was recommended by Seth. Remember last episode, Seth was talking about the other book that we mentioned earlier from Nhi Vo being up for awards, which it also won some, and said, if you're looking for a February pick, because we're going to have such a huge read with Pandora's Star in March, maybe pick a novella in February. So, Veronica, thank you for picking this for February.
And I think someone else also, when I did the thread in Discord, reminded me about it. I thought that was Mark, but I'm not sure. And I feel like those threads are temporary, so now I'm trying to scroll back and maybe someone can remember. Do threads just disappear? Is that how they work in Discord? That seems bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no threads. Anyway, I don't know how to use Discord. That's my understanding. Oh, Mark says This Is How You Lose the Time War was a novella.
Was it technically a novella? I don't think it was this short, but you may be right. It may have been short enough to be a novella. You're right. Good call.
Is that under 50,000 words?
I think so. It depends on who's defining it.
Or is that a novelette?
50,000 is considered a novel according to National Novel Writing Month. That's how you have to get 50,000. So yeah, less than 50,000 would make sense, would be a novella. Nhi Vo grew up in Peoria, Illinois, and went to college at the University of Illinois and now lives in Milwaukee. And as I wrote in our book briefing on Patreon, I grew up in Illinois. I went to the University of Illinois, and my brother lives in Wisconsin. However, this was Veronica's pick, not mine. It was not picked because of any of that. I just wanted to, be transparent about any potential conflicts of interest.
Okay.
But The Empress of Salt and Fortune, published in 2020. It was Vo's first novella. Won the Hugo Award for Best Novella and the 2021 IAFA Crawford Award. And it's... I don't know. I almost don't want to say anything else about it. The log.
I don't know anything about it.
Should I give you the log line?
Sure.
Okay. The plot focuses on a cleric who listens to stories about recently deceased empress. A recently deceased empress.
Got it. And in chat, Tamahome says, links to or copies the entire thread where Mark said, during the last podcast live stream, I think someone in chat recommended The Empress of Salt and Fortune, a 2021 Hugo nominee for the best novella, for our February read. Something short before we commit to the brick, Pandora's Star. He called it a brick. It's long.
Good. It's really good.
It is really good. Stuff is
long.
getting super interesting where I'm at right now. Let me tell you, weird things are happening.
Yeah,
out at the spheres,
at
the Dyson
Pandora's
pair.
Star.
At Pandover, yeah. The way
it's
to
not a
be
spoiler
an
to say the name of the book,
name of
right?
the thing.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
so there you go. We're kicking that off. That's our February read, Empress of Salt and Fortune. March's read is Pandora's Star by Peter F. Hamilton. And we've given you plenty of notice to get started on it. Hopefully that helped. And, of course, in March we'll be doing our tournament, our March Madness tournament of books. So keep an eye out for ways
most
to
wonderful
nominate
time of the year.
Coming soon.
The most wonderful time of the
it only
show.
comes but once a year.
All right. So I wanted to read a couple of cheerful, people who liked the book comments.
Oh, so we're moving into Light from Uncommon Stars.
We are now moving into Light from Uncommon Stars
and
by
it
Rika
will be
Aoki.
spoilery.
And it will be spoilery. Okay. Dwango said, finished it, liked her descriptions of food, violin culture, and making donuts. It was somewhat an orderly stream of thought with each small break of space between text and the occasional chapter break. Liked it and got a bit hungry.
Oh, this book is so good in so many different fields.
Yeah.
It's like an
temptation.
all-star infielder who can also pitch and play. It's like the blanket on the guy who plays for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, who can pitch and
you know what this is like?
bat.
This is this is one thing I felt while reading this book. I felt annoyed, and I will tell you why. I felt annoyed because I was like, how can one person know so much about music and violin and music culture and history and then be able to write a really good book too?
Yeah.
F
the
that.
Shohei Ohtani.
You don't get to be so good at
writers.
everything.
Yeah.
And then also know all this amazing food and places I should be eating in LA or down in the... That's bullshit. It's not fair. I want to be smart.
You're especially
about
angry at the second part because the second part redeems me. Not that I was annoyed, but I was like, "Wow, this is amazing," and I can eat at some places.
Yeah, that's
like
not
this.
fair. I don't get to eat at those places. I have to travel for that.
You know, it's cheaper to live down here.
All right, yeah, you'll never get Ryan to move back down to Southern California.
Eat some of these
Sorry,
noodles. Maybe he'll change his mind.
I know. Oh, so good.
Hainan chicken.
Every review I read on Goodreads was like, the food sounds so good.
And I almost hesitate to keep talking about the food because it makes it sound like that's the best part of the book. It's not.
No, there's so many great parts about this book.
The food is so well described, it makes you really hungry. And then the other parts of the book are either spoilers, so you don't want to mention them, whereas mentioning the food's not a spoiler, or they're heartbreaking, some of them. So... I loved the sci-fi of it. I loved the sort of entire galactic world that could be a whole series.
I know.
That she created and then just used as backstory for a love interest for the teacher. It was so good.
Yeah, there were a lot of interweaving elements in this story. But let's read a few more of these comments before we get to kind of the meaty thread. That was the wrap-up thread. Harry B. said, I had read this not too long after it came out, admittedly starting from some dark place. It became incredibly positive, and I even found myself chuckling out loud when I read. It's okay, only the cat was listening. I certainly respect this author for somehow pulling off a mashup of fantasy, science fiction, humor, donuts, and music. Not, quote, pulling it off somehow, but succeeding incredibly well. Bravo.
Yeah. A work of art, you might say. An incredible composition.
Jillian said, finished it last night, really loved it. And Beth Mitchum, as we know, read the book, but also had this to say on Discord. I finished the book and enjoyed it a lot. One gap I noticed was the oldest son gets short shrift. He never gets unfrozen. Was killing the Earthlings really that much worse than trying to murder Shirley?
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
probably objectively in some ways.
Yeah, it's multiples, and it's cross species. It's not okay. Also, let's not give up the possibility that maybe there's more to the story someday, and you can unfreeze him then.
Yeah, and then we get to Trike's post, and it's a doozy. It's a doozy. It's a bit of a doozy, but the title is "Why I Didn't Like This Book." Spoilers. In case you were wondering what the tenor of this thread was going to be. But I respect it. I think he makes some really good points that I did intend on touching on during this episode. So let me see. I don't know if we should read the entire thing because it is a bit long, but I think the main issue that I also frankly was a little bit bothered by, he gets to right in the beginning. And he says, the thing that really bugs me about the story is the sense of injustice I get. The violinist who has delivered 6 souls for eternal damnation doesn't get punished for her actions. The opposite, she is rewarded with a nice relationship with the alien donut maker out in space after everyone assists the spaceship in fighting off the angry demon during a space battle. If you're going to involve Star Trek, at least pay attention to how well that show used metaphor. Don't do the stupidest version of the idea.
Wow.
Yeah.
I disagree with calling it a stupid version of the idea. I
don't think it's stupid. But Tazzy Dave kind of confirms how I felt, which is like I enjoyed the book, but I didn't enjoy that there were no consequences for actions. Something that bugs me is that about many TV shows and movies, it's why one of the many reasons I hated Natural Born Killers, because they get away with multiple murders. So I wanted to talk about this a little bit because this is the only thing that actually did kind of bug me about the book. I loved the book. I really enjoyed it. I loved the characters. I mean, we haven't even talked about Katrina yet, or, we're just kind of jumping right into Shizuka's kind of storyline, even though Katrina is really like there were a lot of main characters, I guess. Katrina, I feel, was the main character of the story. She ties everything together. But Shizuka, she did some bad stuff, man. I mean, I really expected that she was going to take the fall in the end and be kind of like a tragic, but, maybe martyred in some way character where she, some of the other people here were like, maybe she was going to go rescue those souls. I think Ruth said that, maybe she was going to go save them because of the references to that game Nethertale or Undertale as it is in our world, about going into hell and saving souls. Maybe something like that would have played into it somehow, or Katrina could have helped her, or Lon could have helped her go and save them somehow. There was already a pretty fantastical ending. Why not make it extra fantastical and go into the plane of hell, which we know exists because Tremont, is from there, and they've had this deal, and the souls have gone to hell. And I don't know, it felt like that could have been done maybe a little bit differently. It felt incomplete to me in some ways because there should have been something for her. I mean, I guess she had been suffering kind of for a long time by not having her music and having to do this work
every day.
Made that deal
every day. And if that didn't come through to you, I don't know what Aoki could have done. She was suffering every day of her life.
But she killed people. She killed 6 children.
She delivered 6 children to the devil because she had to, or lose her soul. Yeah. And the real demon here is the devil, is hell.
Of course.
Hell tricked Shizuka into doing this, and you're kind of blaming the victim if you're entirely focusing on Shizuka here. I'm not trying to excuse her. She should have never made the deal in the first place, but she is now in a position where she has to do this, and what we see in this book is her wrestling to finally make up for that by saving Katrina. And she stops Katrina from trying to trying to sacrifice herself for Shizuka. So I thoroughly disagree that there are no consequences. I think I hate to say it, but it feels like it would feel like a fairy tale and very shallow if it had been like a very straightforward, like, she was tricked by the devil, but she prevailed by being a good person all along. She's not a good person. She's a real person. And she did horrible things. And I'm not trying to excuse those. And I'm not saying, well, that's the way the real world works. I'm saying she suffered. And you're discounting her suffering and the fact that she is a victim in all of this if you don't give her credit for that.
I don't know. I don't see her as a victim.
She is the victim of the devil. She's a victim of her own greed.
Okay.
Right?
Her own greed.
Like you can say, put it this way, are the demons, is hell blameless in this? Like, hell, man, they're just the government. So, like, that's what I mean.
But you're kind of taking away her agency by saying she had no power in it either.
And that's why I say I don't forgive her. I don't excuse her. But you are also dealing with, what's the balance of power between hell and a violinist, a human violinist, which is where this began.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I guess we'll have to agree to disagree.
Yeah, that's fine. But that's the way I see it. Is that this is about her struggling against hell, against the forces of hell. To finally, in the end, do the right thing.
I just honestly,
and she
I don't
had to
feel
leave behind Katrina and Astrid, so she also has huge consequences in finally finding a community worth risking the wrath of hell for, and then leaving them.
But I just don't really feel like in that time that she, like, aside from losing her music, like, I don't feel like she was suffering that whole time. So when you say that she was suffering every day, I don't think she was really suffering until she felt like she had something to lose.
Oh, I do. I mean, I guess that could have been written more obviously, but to me it seemed very obvious that if you take a musician devoted their life to becoming the perfect violinist, and the deal with the devil is you now can no longer play in public, that's suffering every day. And we see that when she tries to play, when she's like risks pain and agony to play, and she can't.
All right, well, fine, whatever, Tom.
No. I'm sorry to get so passionate. Well, it kind of sounded
like you were saying like I didn't read the book well enough or didn't understand.
No, not at all. I'm just saying it felt clear to me, and maybe it could have been made clearer. Let me rephrase then.
Because I definitely finished the book and felt like, that doesn't sit right with me. Like that just didn't didn't feel like finished in that way.
And maybe that's worth exploring. Is I'm bringing in my own experiences to this, and maybe I'm seeing things from my own.
Having sold your soul to the podcast gods. Yep.
Right. But maybe seeing things from my own upbringing, of sort of like, well, you have to. I was always told you're responsible for all your things. And that may be overdoing it, and maybe I'm overdoing it when I give Shizuka that benefit of the doubt, and maybe Trike and others, including yourself, are bringing in a more I was taught that there should be justice for people, and if you do a bad thing, you did a bad thing, and you don't get off for it.
Yeah, maybe. Or because I'm the type of person who beats themselves up for doing something wrong and is like, right. Well, no, I effed up.
And so you're looking at Shizuka, and if it was you would be like, all my fault, right?
Yep. Yeah, interesting. I didn't realize this was going to turn into a therapy session. Dang. That was way cheaper than the $170 I usually have to pay. Maybe we can
pivot in therapy podcast that talks about Peacemaker.
All right. Well, this is a good thread. I think,
it is. And thought-provoking as always, Trike. Well done.
Lots of great comments here too, with different perspectives. So I think it's worth a good spoiler thread. If you finish the book, to check that one out. But yeah, I loved the book. I loved the characters. I felt really bad for, I think the character of her son, of Lan's son, could have been fleshed out a little bit more. It was kind of intense that he went from kind of like zero to homicidal in a couple chapters.
He did go to homicidal pretty fast. I'll give you that.
Pretty fast, yeah. But they did think that he might have had that N plague or been infected with the N plague. Or I still don't really understand fully the concept of the N plague, and maybe we weren't supposed to. But
yeah. This is where I wish I would have taken more detailed notes, because I feel like I understood it better while reading than I'm remembering now. But the way I think about it was the end plague was sort of nihilism, right? Like, well, we're all going to die anyway, so what does anything matter? Kind of taken to the nth extreme.
Right. But yeah, and Katrina's story was incredible. I mean, just from her beginnings, like escaping her horrible home life situation to having to deal with, assault and sex work and all of those things. And even at the very end, still having to, on her day that should have been triumphant, having to deal with the, event organizer, that CEO that was such a creep.
All too real, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I thought that was, it was a lot of tough things to read, but it felt like Katrina at the end found her family, and that's like the most all of us can hope for, especially someone who had to go through such adversity to feel like she found the people that would love her and accept her and let her be who she wanted to be.
Yeah.
So that part was awesome.
Yeah. Really liked Katrina's story. Quite a bit. And
I wish I could have heard some of her YouTube videos and heard some of her remakes of video game music.
Yeah.
I actually went up and listened to that Spotify playlist that had some of the songs from the book. And man, that one Bartok song is not easy to listen to. Let me tell you.
It's complex. Yeah.
It is. Whoo! That is, I can't... I wish I knew enough about music to be able to listen to that version that I heard and like hear the things that Rika Aoki was talking about, like in the book, about how or that Shizuka was talking about how you can hear the emotion and when different people play it, like what they bring to it, whether it's like anger or happiness or joy or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, that's such an interesting way to think about it. But I played violin when I was a kid.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I sucked. Yeah, I was terrible. Terrible.
I played drums.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Were you any good?
Fun. I was fine.
You didn't stick with it.
I wasn't the worst. Yeah, I didn't. I actually had a drum set in college, but I just ran out of time to play it because I was way more into the radio station. I was more into playing music than on the radio than making music. Yeah.
Indeed.
Sadly.
All right. Well, thanks for everyone for listening to the podcast. Thanks for reading along with us over on Goodreads. As always, our show is entirely funded by you, our patrons, and thank you so much to the folks who back our show. If you want to help support us, you can head over to patreon.com/swordandlaser.
You can also support the show by buying books through our links. You can find links to the books we talk about and some of our favorites at swordandlaser.com/picks.
Send us an email, feedback@swordandlaser.com. We are on Instagram and Twitter @swordandlaser. And, of course, you can join in on all the discussions at goodreads.com/swordandlaser. We will see you next time.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Goodbye, live chat. Goodbye, Tamahome. Goodbye, Mark. Goodbye, Jan. I think those are the only people who have talked in this podcast so far. Yep, it's three of them and two of us to make five. What should the title be?
What should the title be? I'm writing the description now. Maybe that'll give me an idea.
Batman. This is a job for
Lighthouse
Batman.
Man.
Let's see. Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power rings. Remember how we used to just name things like wrap up of this book?
Yeah, we could do that. There's no rule.
Tom the Gray.
Tom the Gray. Pat-Man.
What do we talk about the most?
I put the the description in there. Pivot to therapy.
Ooh, okay, sure. Pivot to therapy.
Yeah?
I like
All
it.
right. Boom. And
Right,
boom
listening.
goes the dynamite.
All right, chat room. We're going to stop recording. Good to see ya.
Yep. Bye.
Have a good night.
Thanks, everybody.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. You're the best. We love you.
Bye.